With us now from his district in Arkansas is Republican Congressman Steve Womack. Congressman, I totally understand that the Speaker's position maximizes the pressure on Senate Democrats, but it's also kind of cutting the House out of the whole debate, not to mention all the other work that has to get done. Is it time for you guys to come back in session?
Well, not yet, but it soon will be because, Chris, as you know, our CR, the very plan that we have to reopen government, is tied to a November 21st date. And so here in another week, at the end of this next week, we're going to be within 3 weeks of that particular CR expiring on its own without action by Senate Democrats. So our narrative is going to have to change, and eventually we're going to have to come back and do something else. Now, Chris, what something else looks like is up in the air right now. I'm not aware of what Plan B actually is. I've got some ideas on what I think we should be doing, but the fact is November 21st would be the cutoff date based on the current CR that Senate Democrats are rejecting.
And that's where we hear people talking about just do a full year, right? That instead of a short term, you sort of give up on the appropriations process.
Idea.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. No, it's a bad idea. And it's not so, well, because we are operating under the priorities from basically 2 years ago and at funding levels that are 2 years old. And the world has changed a lot, particularly in the area of national security. So when you do CRs, you can't start new programs. So appropriators have done their job. I mean, our committee has done very good work in getting our 12 bills out of committee, 3 across the floor of the House, and we have 3 right now in conference with the Senate that are teed up and ready to go. And full year appropriations is what our Article 1 responsibility is, so we should be doing our job. The problem is when we're not in session, it's very difficult to finish that work. But a full year CR is just a bad idea all the way around, and it should be rejected out of hand.
Okay. You have expressed some sympathy, at least, or some understanding about Democrats who say they don't want to do a deal with you guys because of these rescissions. The president calls Russ Vought Darth Vader, and the White House likes that Democrats are in pain because of what are essentially refusals to spend money appropriated by Congress. And I know that you do understand where Democrats are coming from on that point, but even if these are not, even if you agree with the direction that these cuts go or these rescissions go, where's the line, right? Where's the line where House Republicans say, you can't just keep cutting even if I like the cuts you're making?
Well, it goes back to Article 1, and we are the Article 1 branch. It's our job. And Chris, if Democrats are really concerned about the extraordinary activity of the OMB director, i.e., whether it's rescissions or furloughs or just firing massive numbers of people, which has been threatened by OMB, if that's their real concern, there's an answer for that. And that is pass the continuing resolution that is sitting right now in the Senate and needs another 5 Democrat votes, and then we can reopen the government and save a lot of these jobs and get back to the business of trying to finish our work on the FY26 appropriations process. That's the simple answer to it. But they're dug in on it. I get it. And they're introducing an entirely different subject as their reason for not wanting to reopen the government. But that's the simple answer to it. So whether it's pay for members of the safety and security mechanisms of our country, our members in the military, our food safety workers, our air traffic controllers, if it's that or if it's saving the jobs over in HHS with NIH and other really important federal agencies doing work on behalf of the American people, if that's what their concern is, very simple solution. Just pass the CR, let's get government reopened, and let's get back to the negotiating table.
Okay, so on that question about troop funding, in addition to not spending money directed by Congress, the administration is also spending other funds without congressional approval. It's sort of a similar challenge here. Nobody wants to be opposed to paying the troops, but there has to be some unease among appropriators about the creative accounting going on to try to pay the troops.
Well, it's a precedent that I think is very unfortunate, and it's a manifestation of where we sit right now with our inability to get full-year appropriations done on time and risking either big omnibus packages or continuing resolutions, or, in the case we're in right now, a government shutdown. Nobody is benefiting from this. And frankly, we need to be back at the negotiating table. We have long believed, Chris, that a continuing resolution, which has been used many, many times before, stopgap funding, is the answer to getting government reopened, and why my friends on the left just continue to refuse and dig in on an entirely different subject, this being the Obamacare subsidies, is just completely irresponsible in my view. And there's a way for us to get around this and get back to the table, and that's get the CR passed, and let's get back to Washington and get back to work that the American people want us to do.
Where will you be, though, on the question of those subsidies, those Obamacare subsidies? So let's say Democrats say, okay, we give, we'll reopen, we'll come back. Where are you going to be on the question of extending those Obamacare subsidies?
I had problems with the we're talking about the enhanced subsidies, right, Chris? We're not talking about the fact that the Affordable Care Act, which was not affordable in the beginning, had to be subsidized. We're not talking about those subsidies. We're talking about subsidies that are beyond the initial subsidies. And so I've fought against those in the beginning and probably would do so again, because they are, this is money going to people who are making significantly more money than the people that the original subsidies were were directed toward. So, but let's have that conversation separately. The Affordable Care Act was not affordable. It had to be subsidized. And now here we are again with additional subsidies that Democrats themselves put in the legislation to expire at the end of this year. So we're talking about subsidies, Chris, that Democrats planned to have expire at the end of this year. It just doesn't make any sense that you dig in on that subject now.
Okay, America, if you were having heart palpitations after drinking a 777 espresso at 7 Brew in Rogers, Arkansas, you would know him already. But if you don't, there he is, Congressman Steve Womack. We thank you for your time.